Oh my god, I love your transients. Where did you get them?
Of course, my darling. They're designer.
Hey guys, Robert from Learn Audio Engineering. Welcome back to another episode of Sound Strategies, and in this episode we're talking about Transient Designers. And no, I'm not talking about your cosmopolitan ex-girlfriend. Transient Designers are dynamic processors that allow us to shape the waveform of an audio signal, and we can do this with two basic controls, the attack and the sustain. So the attack controls the amount of punch by increasing or decreasing the peak of each sound, where the sustain can adjust the RMS portion or the body of the sound, which has a huge impact on the length of sounds, especially on drums. So we can stretch the sustain to make it take up more space, or we can reduce it to keep the hits more tight and punchy. Often this approach will depend on the tempo and how busy the part is. But by using a transient designer, we can shape the impact and the tail of each hit to fit more neatly in with the groove. So here are three simple ways to use transient designers in your next mix. One that I really love to use is on drums. Things like the kick, what this is going to allow you to do is adjust the length of the drums and help them fit in with the tempo of the song. This is really useful for cutting excess low end on faster tempos. So I've got a transient master. This was made by Native Instruments. And I've got this on the kick drum. And what I've done is just added like a smidge of attack, and I've cut the low end. I've got three different mics going on here. The first kick is the kick in, the second kick is the kick out, and then we had a sub kick as well. So for this kick number 2, that's our outside. That's gonna have a little bit more low end in it. And I've cut the sustain of that to keep it from really muddying up our track right here. So I'm gonna take this off, and I'll play a little bit of this. I'll just drop the needle, and we'll have a listen, and then I'll turn it on. So you can hear on its own, it sounds a lot more punchy. It still has the low end, but it's contained. It's choked off a lot more. Let's hear it in with the mix. That's all I need. There's one in the chamber. So without it, it gets a little bit woolly, a little bit full, and this just tames it down a little bit. And I think I did something similar on the sub kick using the Logic enveloper, which is very similar to a transient designer. It allows you to control the attack and release instead of the attack and the sustain. So it is very similar, and this one gives you some more controls to be able to use the time and the threshold for each one of those adjustments, the attack and the release. So very cool. I'll show you what this is doing as well. So here's our sub kick with no transient shaping. And then with it. So just adding a bit of punch and cleaning up that low end. This is, it's not a fast tempo, but it's quite steady. And I just want to avoid much of that low end buildup. It's really going to clean up the low end of our track. You can use this for the snare. You can try it on toms, really experiment with it. It's a really cool idea. Another thing that I really like to use it for is on guitars. And this is going to help add some confidence to the single picking of this. So I've got a couple here. First, my transient designer. I've upped the attack a little bit. Now what this is going to do is when we have a single picked part, this is going to give us more confidence, more consistency in the guitar playing. So we've got our little melody part going on here. I'm going to solo it, take off the plugin, and then we'll listen to it with it. And we'll bring it in. So we're getting all of those hits more consistent, more even in terms of their attack. So this is something that you could have for your single picked parts, and then you could turn it off after. I actually liked the sound, the way that it sounded in with the rest of the track when I'm playing chords because I'm playing the lower part and the other guy's playing the higher part, and it kind of helps what I'm playing cut through. So let's have a listen to that. Awesome. So we might also do that for the solo. Where's my solo here? Andy solo right here. So let's go with the Transient Master again. And again, I'm just looking to add some confidence to it, and that's about it. So I'm gonna just up the attack a little bit, see what that does. So it adds a little bit more brightness to it, a bit more like he's picking a little bit harder and more consistently into each note. Let's hear that back in with the mix. So one thing I like to do, if I'm really not sure what I'm listening to, I can't really hear the difference, I'll go extremes. I'll start all the way plus 100 attack, and then I'll go minus 100. So it just makes it seem a little bit more forward and add a little bit more consistency to the attack of the guitar. So this is an interesting concept when we think of transients and how our ears perceive them to be further or closer. So I've got two auxiliary percussion tracks here, the tambourine and the shaker. And I've got them hard panned using the directional mixer because they're both in stereo. And if you watched my last video, you know why you need to do that. So here I've got both Transient Designers on them, and I believe I'm cutting a lot of attack on both of them. And the reason why, this is a trick that I got from Dave Pensato. I'm cutting out Transient to remove that high frequency and to make everything sound further away. So this can add depth and move instruments further back by shaving off some of that transient. I just want to show you the waveform here so you know what I'm talking about. So you can see we have these spikes and these attacks here, and the more spike you have, the more transient you have. So if you start to take that away, we get less spike, we get less impact, which means we get less high frequencies, which means that the result sounds much further away to us. So it sounds like they're getting quieter, but what's really happening is the high end is getting cut off. That transient is getting pushed down, so it doesn't appear to be as close as us. It seems to be further away. And this is a really, really sneaky trick that you can use to push back some of the elements by reducing the amount of their transient that you hear. Okay, so let's hear that in with the mix. It starts with the shaker. I'm gonna start with it bypassed, and then I'll add in this transient shaper and you'll see what I'm talking about. So you can hear it move like 10 feet back or something like that just by me turning down this attack knob. And of course, if you find that that's too far away for you, you can just back it off a little bit, add a little bit more of that attack. So you can really dial in the position of that instrument in your mix. It's a very cool idea. Honestly, that last one makes so much sense, and it blew my mind the first time that I tried it. So I hope that this gives you some new ideas, and my question for you today is, how do you like to use Transient Designers? Have you tried any of these tips? Do you have one that I missed? Please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I've been playing around with the length of these videos to see what works best, and I've left a poll up here where you guys can choose the length that you prefer: 4 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes. This will help me work out the size and depth of each episode for you. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. We're almost at 400 subs. I'm so excited. I know we can do it. Thank you to all my subscribers so far. I'll see you in the next video.